My name is Felipe Rosas, and today I'm going to delve into the ethical/moral sides of the films Contagion and Civil War. Both films fall under the genre of speculative fiction, containing dystopian, apocalyptic, and post apocalyptic elements. These films involve narratives of societal fears, one of which has already occurred, and another which becomes ever likely. Both films feature the fall of society into chaos, with Contagion showing a bit of the recovery afterwards. Both films can be viewed through the lens of existential philosophy as explored by Beauvoir and the ethics of ambiguity. These films reflect the central themes of ambiguity, freedom, responsibility, and the struggle to act ethically under uncertain, chaotic circumstances. Contagion is a film depicting the rise of a highly contagious and lethal novel virus. The themes of this film range from trust, fear, paranoia, and isolation. The characters we will be focusing on today is CDC scientist Dr. Alice Sheaver, Dr. Mears, and blogger Alan. Just as Beauvoir argues that freedom comes from responsibility, the characters in Contagion are forced to make ethical decisions such as whether to prioritize individual survival, help others, or work towards a collective solution. Dr. Ellis is the head of the CDC and is overseeing the government's response to the virus. As a government official, Dr. Ellis must balance the professional ethical standards with his own internal ethics. As the person overseeing the response, Dr. Ellis is purview to intel not available to the public. In this scene, Dr. Ellis learns about the imminent quarantine and struggles between the choice of warning his wife, acting selfishly, or staying quiet to serve the public, acting ethically. In the end, he chooses his wife and is thus forced to face the consequences of that action. These themes are also evident in the choice of Dr. Mears to stay in the field despite the risk of infection, as it illustrates this existential tension. She exercises her freedom to act, but also takes responsibility for the lives she can save, even as she faces her own mortality. To preface this next scene, we must look back at the ethics of ambiguity, where Beauvoir emphasizes that freedom is not just the absence of constraints, but also the capacity to create meaning through choices. Ethical action or applied ethics arises from acknowledging one's freedom and taking responsibility for how that freedom impacts others. Alan is portrayed as being a bad faith actor, a concept Beauvoir discusses where individuals deny their responsibility by hiding behind a fixed set of beliefs or seeking personal gain. Alan spreads misinformation about a false cure, profiting from the fears of others and even deaths. His behavior reflects Beauvoir's serious man, someone who refuses to take responsibility for their freedom. In Civil War, characters are faced with the moral and ethical choices in the context of a fractured society. Beauvoir's concept of ethical action in the face of ambiguity can be seen in how characters navigate their roles within the conflict. The collapse of societal norms in this film forces individuals to confront their freedom directly. There are no pre-existing moral codes to fall back on, and characters must create new ones based on their actions. As photographers, Jesse and Lee must remain apolitical. Their only job is to capture a moment in time for others to see so they can ask questions. This scene, both characters are faced with two conflicting challenges. They could either A. Stay apolitical and not get involved, or B. Get involved and risk losing their lives. It is no surprise that they choose A, as they seek to value their own freedom but also provide context to others. In a setting of civil conflict, solidarity becomes difficult but crucial. The movie shows us how alliances form between individuals and groups who recognize the necessity of working together to survive or rebuild. Beauvoir's emphasis on solidarity as an ethical choice in the face of ambiguity applies here. One big critique of this movie was the existence of the Western forces, made up of California and Texas. Texas and California are opposites in almost every way, so it's hard to believe that they would both be on the same side of a conflict. However, both states recognize the necessity of working together to stop a fascist president and rebuilding society together. In conclusion, these films reflect on central themes of ambiguity, freedom, responsibility, and the struggle to act ethically in uncertain and chaotic circumstances. In both movies, the characters are faced with the limits of their freedom due to external forces, but they must still make choices that define their moral standing and contribute to the larger human experience.